Star Wars Dark Forces is a retro FPS that's been remastered, originally being released in 1995. Now the series is globally known for its portrayal of lightsabers, but today we'll be using our fists to punch a stormtrooper square in the... The Empire, being led by Darth Vader, is causing chaos and consuming planets. The Rebel Alliance gains intel they're developing a battle station, also known as the Death Star, and this is no ordinary star, as it has the power to destroy planets. The Rebel Alliance hires us to steal the construction plans for the Death Star, and it's at this point our player character is introduced as Kyle Katarn, a mercenary for hire. Now there is more to the story, but this is the general plot. The game uses a mission select system, which gives you some background on the mission and the objectives that you need to complete. Now you can jump, crouch, run, toggle your headlight and obviously shoot. When you run you move at breakneck speeds, faster than that blue hedgehog. I mean, who needs an X-Wing when you can simply run faster? There is a map system that shows you the layout of each level, but there is no indicator of where you need to go. You're going to have to figure that out by yourself. You have a health, shield and life indicator. Now there are several health and shield pickups scattered around the map, and there are some life ups, but these are typically found in hidden areas. There's tons of different weapons at your disposal, and they're all viable and fun to use. Apart from the Bayer pistol. Yeah, don't use that piece of My favourites were the Stormtrooper laser rifle as well as the concussion rifle. Now the concussion rifle seems to evaporate enemies, which for disturbing reasons was very satisfying to watch. In the first few missions the enemies don't put up that much of a fight and you can pretty much mow through them, but as the game progresses the enemy squad sizes get larger, their weapons get deadlier and you actually start dying. When you die you respawn pretty much where you perished. Now this is great as you don't need to backtrack, but the enemies are still there so they can get a few cheap pop shots in. The gunplay is very smooth and reminiscent of other FPS games of the same era, although you will have to excuse my aim. So it should be no surprise that the most enjoyable part of the game are the shooting mechanics. However, there are several puzzle portions throughout missions, and honestly I did have a rough time with some of these. This is because a lot of the switches and the buttons in the game just look like background and they essentially merge in. There's no prompt when you're close to an object that you need to interact with. Now this isn't a complaint, as this is how games used to be. I would know as I'm old enough to remember. I suppose I've just got used to modern day mechanics and a bit of hand holding here and there. Now there was one mission where I was running around for honestly 10 to 15 minutes, totally clueless on what I needed to do next, before I shot at the wall randomly and realised, oh wait, hold on, that was a button all along? This will eventually click for you and you should be able to differentiate. Eventually you'll run into these no good tricksters who throw grenades at you. If they ever lose their jobs at the Empire they could field a career in baseball. Or since they're so good at tossing balls, maybe they could work in Your main threat in Dark Forces are the newly developed Dark Troopers. Think of these as mini bosses throughout the game. What I really liked is that they're further developed on the more that you progress. Now they're not difficult, but they do have some deadly attacks and they can potentially kill you if you play poorly. In Dark Forces you'll be attacking rebel bases, traversing icy cliffs, well I wonder if there's any tauntauns around here if it gets too cold, and running through sewers filled with, filled with that stuff. Between each mission you'll get to watch a short cutscene, which are also voice acted, which is a nice touch.
Very impressive, General. The Emperor will be most pleased.
Kyle also has some voice lines in game when picking up key items, and enemies in the game are also fully voice acted. Apart from shooting enemies, you're typically going to be acquiring coloured key cards to open doors to progress further. There's of course puzzles, which I've previously touched on, as well as rescue missions. Well, like this guy for example. Well look at that. This guy's got one of those fancy new swivel chairs. Alexa, put a swivel chair on my wish list immediately. And hold on just 1 minute. Aren't these the little droids that Luke practices his lightsaber skills with in episode 4? In this game, I swear these no-good sneaks use the Force to dodge your bullets. If you do pick the game up, make sure you turn off head bobbing in the accessibility menu. I've never experienced motion sickness in gaming before, but this was a first one for me. As soon as I turned it off, I didn't experience it again. Now there are some power-ups in the game, like supercharging, which lets you shoot your weapon faster without using any ammo. Now there were a handful of occasions where I completely ran out of ammo, and I had to run around using melee combat as well as grenades. Now this is fine when you're fighting normal enemies, but if you fight a Dark Trooper or a turret, they do too much damage and you'll eventually be killed. When you lose all of your lives, you respawn at the beginning of the mission with all of your progress being lost. You can also fall off the map and you also take full damage. Now there is a cheats menu which I did test in one level after I finished the game. Just take into consideration if you do use a cheat it will lock you out of the trophy or achievement in that mission. And just for total transparency, I did platinum the game as further proof we didn't just cheat our way through it. Dark Forces is at its best when there's tons of enemies surrounding you with plenty of space for you to maneuver and dodge projectiles. The gunplay is very good and your movement also mirrors that. You have an array of weapons to deal with situations up close and personal or at a further distance, and there's also a good amount of enemy variety. As mentioned earlier, there are quite a few puzzle sections which I wasn't a fan of, so do bear this in mind if you're going to pick up the game. There are 15 missions and I completed the game with 11 hours on the clock. There's no post-game content, but you can play the game on hard difficulty if you wish. The game cost me £25 or approximately $30. Now I do think that is on the higher side. I've played several games with far more content than Dark Forces at a much more reasonable price point. So, who is this game for? If you enjoyed games like Doom, Quake or System Shock, then I believe you'll enjoy Dark Forces. Alternatively, if you're a Star Wars fan, then again this may be something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribers and non-subscribers, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff only if you want to. I'm Senor Donut, peace out.